Kendall, do you want me to get started or do you think we should? I apologize for the drilling in the background. Should we get started?
Yeah, let's get started.
Okay.
And I'll watch for other people as they join.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the Lunch and Learn. We're just going to give a short little update, about 3 minutes here on 2030 District. So in the meantime, we have 3 great presenters today that Kendall is going to talk to you about. So put your name and organization in the chat box so we know you're here, and your questions in the chat box, and we will get to those too after the presenters. Then when we're all done with our presentations, we will open up our microphones and cameras and say hello. All right, Kendall, if you want to go ahead and start the update slides. Most of you here, I see a couple new names, are familiar with 2030 District Detroit. And just to kind of give you a quick update, we did have a really good year this year. We added a lot of buildings. We're up to 52 million square feet in our program. We are the 4th largest district now in North America. We have 40 businesses that support us locally. 3 of them are on our Lunch and Learn today presenting. And we also have about 40 nonprofits that we collaborate with all year long. So we are really doing well, finally, after 5.5 years of being up and running. Okay. So there's 24 districts across North America. Michigan is proud to have 3, Detroit, Grand Rapids, and Ann Arbor. And so you can kind of see what our movement is all about, creating these high performance districts. It really stems from the 2030 Architecture Challenge that about 10 years ago, an architect challenged all architects across the country to do a better job building buildings and renovating them so that they could become more carbon neutral by the year 2030. However, of course, we're not going to stop at 2030. We're just here 10 years later into that. We're basically focusing on creating all carbon neutral buildings in all these cities that you see here. We all go about it a little differently, but that's our goal, is to reduce energy and water consumption and transportation emissions to and from our buildings. Okay. So as I mentioned, these are the 3 areas that we work on, and these are the 3 metrics that we are measuring our reductions in Detroit. Our buildings, any building in Detroit can join anywhere. However, we're only measuring in downtown and midtown. So the buildings that sign up in those areas share their data with us. It's a large project that's been going on for many years and will continue to, so we can start reporting on our reductions. We do have some of that to announce soon. We're doing pretty good. However, it's an ongoing data issue that we have to work with all the time, you know, how to gather the data anonymously and report on it. So we're going to be probably reporting more next year on that. Okay. We have 3 member types. We have professional stakeholders, which is here today. That's the only group of members that pay to belong. So they put their money where their mouth is. And our program's free for building owners and managers, and community stakeholders, nonprofits is free also. So thank you to the businesses that support us. We have 3 best practice groups in Detroit. We kind of started this right after we launched, and it's becoming really popular. Some of the other districts are hopping on and doing the same thing now. We had a venue museum group here in Detroit that the museum side of it went national. So all districts now are a part of a national group, and we still have the venue one here in Detroit. We also have a house of worship best practice group with about 20 houses of worship in Detroit, and a multifamily best practice group. This was our awards breakfast. We still have it in here because when our building owners sign on with us, we ask them if they would like to join the Detroit Energy Challenge. That is ongoing. You upload your data. The biggest loser of energy usage in a given like 12 to 14 month. Kendall could probably tell you a little bit better there. Get an award at this awards breakfast. It coincides with Michigan Battle of the Buildings, and those are the statewide awards. So we kind of do them at the same time. So we were excited to have our first awards breakfast this June. So keep your eyes out next summer for that. And also, if you're a business here, you get to have a table at that event.
And Connie, I just wanted to add really quickly that the deadline to submit to participate in the challenge next year is March 3rd of 2023. So we'll be doing a lot of outreach and encouraging people to participate and get their data updated for 2021 and 2022.
Great. We recently had the summit here for all districts, came together here to Detroit for about 3 days, and we had a wonderful time. It was a great hit. We had planned it a few times during COVID, but we finally got to hold it here and show off the city of Detroit, and everyone loved it. So thank you for our supporters and for those who came to our meetings and receptions. And we won't be doing this again for a long time, but it was wonderful. So thank you to those who participated. And once again, this is a thank you to our businesses. We always like to acknowledge them. We wouldn't be here without them today. So thank you for all of you who are on this call who support our program. And just lastly, if you want to get involved, you can add a building to our program. You can sponsor an event. You can become a professional stakeholder, or you can volunteer. We have quite a strong social media presence. So Kendall, if you go to the next tab, people can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And we have a wonderful newsletter. If you sign up for our newsletter, it's no more than once a month, and it lists all of our activities. But nonetheless, on our website, you can always find our activities and events and our lunch and learns to register. So that's it. I'm going to let Kendall take it over from here.
Thank you, Connie. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker while he's getting his slides up on the screen. So I want to introduce Brian Cohn. He's the VP of Customer Success at Sapient. And I'm going to read a description of his presentation today. Sapient Industries unlocks unparalleled visibility into electricity consumption to deliver more efficient and high-performance buildings. We provide the most granular visibility into electricity and carbon emissions at every single point of electricity consumption in any type of building, and support our clients with dedicated building science resources to help guide them through acting on the optimizations we identify and driving impact across energy consumption and carbon emission reduction, preventative maintenance, and continuous commissioning of their facilities. So with that, I want to welcome Brian and thank him for being one of our guest presenters. And Brian, I will turn it over to you.
Perfect. I appreciate it. And I think, the summary you gave gives a really good starting point. I know we have 10 minutes, so I'll kind of go quickly through these slides. And then I know we have some Q&A, so glad to answer any questions on the back end. Obviously, we know why we're here as far as addressing the inefficiencies. And really the way we do it is through purely the electrical side of the lens of the world. So from an electricity metering standpoint, we are actually able to deploy at every single circuit within breakers throughout a facility using a new technology that allows us to get granular level detail from every piece of equipment down to individual plugs. So we can control everything from literally the phone charger up to a large piece of HVAC equipment, 5,000 ton chillers, really a very, very wide range, gives us a really good opportunity to capture, this data and then really the actionable insights. I'll kind of give you guys some examples as well as how we do that. But all this essentially captures that data, submits it through our platform, which eventually goes through, does all of the AI, takes it, builds out any anomalies or things that it sees outside of the conditions. But it can do everything from doing the reduction of energy itself. So working through and seeing where there's optimization opportunities. Edison Energy, one of our partners, had kind of mentioned that they actually see it as a continuous commissioning. It's like a energy engineer on site every day, because we're able to really granularly see second by second every bit of energy usage throughout a facility to then really kind of identify root causes. The nice thing is it also gives a truly M&V solution, because obviously you have the direct before and after, and everything is metered and verified. We work with people to do the shaving of demand peaks. So we do have some control elements for demand response, or even just working to prevent, the additional demand charges. We can do full predictive maintenance as well as machine health. So noting things like, hey, we're seeing a higher amp draw out of this motor, could be due to one of these reasons. We do a full automation of all carbon emissions reporting for scope 1, scope 1 and scope 2. So we can kind of work through with you to actually see what carbon emissions were generated for the electricity used within your facility on an hour-by-hour basis, and then optimize the facility to actually reduce the carbon perspective. And then really, we actually help our customers build out their full roadmap to net zero. Obviously, different ordinances have kind of come up throughout the country, but working with companies to meet their goals. So if they say they want a 40% reduction, we can build where they are today and then what steps are needed, because we have the full granular information to see where all of the generation is today. So just on a high level solution overview, as I mentioned, this connects to anything that touches electricity within a facility. I mean, everything from a large scale HVAC piece of equipment down to as granular as individual plugs. So we have power strips that we can control on a individual level to turn off things like monitors or things that are not used at night to prevent that vampiric load. But then also on a much larger scale, we're able to then take a look at when are things running. And what we found is most facilities, while designed to be commissioned, had someone that left a drive and bypass or overrode a lighting system. And next thing you know, those things are running, just continuously 24/7. So a lot of this just becomes very sequence of ops types changes that cause significant shifts as far as reductions in energy. We do this through our technology. So we have here, you can kind of see it. We essentially use split core CTs. So these actually go through every wire essentially that goes into the panels. The nice thing is this technology is really affordable comparatively to anything in the past. We do it completely wirelessly using a Digimesh backnet or like a Digimesh network. So the good news is from an install perspective, there's no disconnect, there's no intrusiveness. We're not cutting into wires. We do not actually have to power down anything within the facility to do the install. So truly we're able to put these on and within minutes, have it start communicating back and then build this full profile and start to see some really interesting things where we'll note if a VAV is not actually modulating or a drive is, just left in bypass, things like that on a very instant network. And then we actually partner with our building science team. I'll go into a little bit further, but essentially ASHRAE level auditors that on a recurring basis take this data. The system will flag things that are anomalous, but they actually get to know the facility. So we do a library and we found that they had a humidifier that was running 24/7. Turns out it's because they had a $2 million book collection. So they would, they want to do it. So sometimes there are things that we see that there's a logical explanation, but the majority of the times what we see is just as the facility runs, things fall out of commission. So this allows us to just do this consistent recommissioning process at really a very low cost. We do also do a whole building meter. So this would actually be to do everything from power quality, doing a shadow meter of a utility meter, really getting that full in-depth. So if you're looking to look at harmonics or other elements from phase imbalance, stuff like that, from a power quality perspective, this would require obviously, a little bit more of an install, but we're able to do a full power quality component as well. From there, we essentially put all this into the dashboard. So very easy side by side to see whether it's across many sites or just a single site week to week, doing comparison of what was your energy usage. We're able to then pull outside information to then compare it if there was a reason such as outdoor ambient, things like that. But really, we're able to do all this and then automate a lot of the process. So since we're able to go through and see exactly what is causing the highest carbon emissions, really help build out that direct plan on an hour by hour basis. Here was the carbon emission generation for that power, and it was used on air handler 3. If you use the drive, here would be the direct, corresponding result, as well as the M&V component of it. So it really gives us that deep granular information to be able to give our customers the commissioning. From there, as I mentioned, we do the machine health. So I said we will note anything from pieces of equipment that start to fail, things that are starting to cause a higher draw. We've seen pretty significantly that 70-ish% of the drives that we find in the field are just end up being left in bypass. Usually if someone did maintenance and that's kind of where it got left. But really through all this, we're able to see these anomalies or things that are doing it, and then do a second level of root cause, compare what it was looking like from an electrical perspective for the entire time we've had that connectivity. And the nice thing is we have the largest repository of electrical data. So as we do this AI and detection, it's really actually comparing across thousands of sites and then able to really kind of give us some of this predictive maintenance. We also do energy audits, M&V and planning. So within our product, we actually have a level 2 ASHRAE audit that comes included. The nice thing is with the system we have, the information is very, very readily available for the engineers. So instead of it being a weeks-long process, they're very able to pull up that information, get to kind of the bottom of things, and make recommendations and discussions with the facility. We do this, I mentioned a little bit, so I manage the customer success team, but then we have an entire team of building scientists. So these are the ASHRAE level auditors that essentially will go through and actually know the facility, have that deep level knowledge to be able to kind of work with the facilities and actually say, hey, we noticed this, but then taking it a step further, and where some of our facilities we've noticed there's a lack of customer support, whether it be just bandwidth from a facilities team, or they may not have the expertise, we'll actually work with them to write the scopes to say, here's what would need to be done, or to implement the sequence of ops changes. So this way it takes that burden off of the end user, and really, as we call it, a managed service, so that we, from time we start to the end solution, it's truly managed by our side, and we are willing to take the lift as far as the customer needs in that regard. I know we're getting somewhat close on the 10 minutes, so I don't want to go too far. This was just a quick example I'll talk about for a library. This was actually about 6 weeks after they put in a $2.7 million BMS. They officially signed off as it being commissioned, but we're not seeing the energy usage reduction they thought they would get. So again, after we put the system in, so went through, again, no shutdown, anything like that, within 4 weeks, we're able to generate this report. Now, 145,000 square foot facility, almost 500,000 kWh that we were able to save. And really what we found was things like, again, probably slightly tough to read here, but air handlers that were just on 24/7. We found ones where they'd actually implemented a schedule and it was to turn off at 5 p.m., but the BMS was viewing 12 a.m. as a new day and everything turning back on. Things like return fans not modulating, or VFDs. And the nice thing is that all of these are direct measured. And then this is purely sequence of ops changes. This is not go put in a VSD and you'll see 20% savings. This is truly a measured. Here's what it was operating at. Here is the simple recommendations from a sequence of ops perspective, and then what the corresponding impact would be. We also do kind of a larger picture for capital investments, longer term, energy reduction projects. But again, a lot of this is truly just optimizing what's in place today. It's really complementary. I think that the industry, between the traditional BMSs as well as the new analytics platforms, have somewhat neglected the electrical portfolio of this. So it's really kind of an innovative side of it. And I think that we've been able to drive some really significant impacts in a short period of time. Again, I can run through some specific examples. I know that we're up on time, so I don't know if you want me to continue on or.
Yeah, Brian, we have about another minute, if you want to continue for another minute or so.
Yeah, no problem at all. So just a quick example here. These would be examples of the electrical profiles we'll see. In this one, you'll see some return fans. These are all connected to VSDs. As you can see, there is no modulation that we're seeing within this side. On the left-hand side, you'll just see some of the demand curve that did not make sense, particularly on an overnight. We're able to go into things as simple as overnight lighting, seeing when we were seeing things overridden. This was an example of air handlers that were overcycling. We actually found a bad sensor. Essentially, the compressor was just kicking on and off consistently, but we're able to show, hey, we're seeing this cycling, as well as get to a root cause. Again, going through granular reporting, there's a lot here that we can go through in a short period of time, but I think that the other side that we didn't touch as much on is the plug load control. So the plug load itself, as I mentioned, we can actually control each individual plug within a socket. So turning off things at night within a workstation, making sure things like space heaters are not turned on, or turning off monitors that are left on overnight, and doing all of it automatically without any impact to the end tenant. Other elements such as we are able to do both a workspace utilization from an occupancy perspective. So anytime a plug is using power, we're able to sense and detect if someone actively using their computer, are they plugging in a phone charger, those types of elements, as well as, hey, there was a customer that had 36 3D printers, and we noted that only 6 were ever used within the 6-month period that were utilized. So they could cancel leases, looking at different elements. There's a lot of different applications, but the nice thing is truly anything that touches electricity can be optimized. So we've had some really good opportunities to kind of see where those opportunities are. We did work with a partner in the Detroit area, part of this group, that was able to turn off mini fridges that cools beers and stuff like that in suites. So they were able to save a significant amount of energy just by doing this in off hours that did not have any interruption, but also gave them the ability to note when there was an issue with a compressor on one of those small, just little beer coolers. So again, really interesting applications kind of across a very, very wide span of topics, as well as obviously the larger equipment that there's a more significant, individual impacts.
Thank you, Brian. I don't know if you were finishing up or not. I know we have at least one question in the chat. All right.
Yeah, glad to.
This is from Bob, but he was asking, what's the approximate cost, say, for a 48 circuit system?
So we will generally do it based on either a square foot or I apologize, I switched off the video here. So we can do costing. It's a very cheap. So generally it will be on a per square foot basis. On a 48 circuit system, you're talking about just a breaker panel you're talking about, Bob? I apologize, just to confirm what you're.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Bob, did you have it? Did you want to expand on your question at all?
Yeah, just for example, just a 48 panel, circuit panel, or something on the square foot size, just give us an idea what your costs are.
Yeah, so again, obviously it'll range, I would say, from pennies up to 20 cents a square footage, depending on what we're looking at from again, it's tough to say from a data center to a warehouse or drastically different. The per cost, again, we don't have to go into like a Jace or a supervisory device. So it's the actual equipment itself is very minimal. We normally would not just do one circuit. So that's a tough, just from sending guys out to the site, doing the install, et cetera. There's not a cost effective on a single breaker. So we don't usually price it that way. I apologize. That's why I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer that question. But it's usually a price per square foot based on electrical density, but glad to kind of walk through and give some examples. It's tough to do in just a broad picture like that. But the cost is very minimal. I would say normally within the pennies per square foot, depending on what the application is.
Thank you, Brian and Bob. And we will have some time at the end if there's any other questions for Brian. But Brian, if you don't mind, could you put your contact info in the chat if folks do want to reach out to you? This was really a really helpful presentation. I feel like I already had at least one building member that came to mind who had asked about this or had some questions. So I'm happy to connect them and share this presentation with them.
Yeah, present more. Tough to fit it into 10 minutes. I tried
to exactly
there. So,
but that was a great presentation. So thank you. So we're going to move on to Jeff Webb from Detroit Thermal. So Jeff, go ahead and share your slides, and I'm looking forward to your presentation as well.
All right, can you see that?
I can see it, but it's only showing, it's not in, it doesn't look like it's in presentation mode, or it's showing the notes on the slide. Let's see.
All right. And it's alarming at me.
There we go.
Can you hear that beeping?
Yeah, I kind of thought it was in my house.
So did
I
I.
don't know where that's.
I was like, something burning on the stove.
Oh, like stuff is beeping in my house.
Yeah, I have no idea where that's coming from.
Well, it's not too annoying. So if there's a little beeping in the background, that's okay.
All right. So my name is Jeff Webb. I'm a project engineer at Detroit Thermal. For those not familiar, Detroit Thermal is the district energy company in the city of Detroit. So we've got about 30 miles of steam piping throughout the city of Detroit, supplying about 100 customers with pressurized steam. They use it for a litany of different reasons, from air conditioning to heating to hot water, all the way to sterilization of equipment at the hospital, to producing pharmaceuticals at Thermo Fisher Scientific, to heating chrome baths at Arctic Chrome. So it's used all over the city. So that's kind of high level what the company does. But what we are in general is we're a big piece of Detroit's infrastructure. So we've been here since 1903. So Detroit was kind of ahead of its time when they decided to go the direction of a district solution for energy. So that Willis plant that you see there at the top right, that was the original 1903 generating facility. So when you use a centralized hub, you have improvements in efficiencies, reduction in costs, improvements in reliabilities, and that's all shared throughout the community. So how that kind of leads off into the discussions with environmental concerns is when we can improve our environmental impact, that impacts the entire city or our district. So the other 3 locations that you see up there are the Beacon facility that's right next to Ford Field, and then our 2 unmanned satellite facilities, the Boulevard and the Henry plant. We're also infrastructure. So on top of the nearly 30 miles of piping that we've got almost 3 miles of tunnel systems that are 60 to 70 feet under the central business district. So these are actually like pedestrian tunnels. You can walk through these tunnels all the way from Ford Field to TCF. So it's pretty wild and pretty exciting to see your first time, but I'll leave that at that. Really what we are known for, at least when the current management came on at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, really everyone knew Detroit Thermal for the waste energy facility over on Russell Street. Early on in the new management, that waste energy facility was shut down for a number of different reasons, but huge environmental impact. You can imagine burning garbage isn't the best thing for the environment, but also the environmental inequity from collecting and burning garbage over on Russell Street to deliver a product to the central business district and one of the highest rent districts of Southeast Michigan. So really what I want to talk about is the 3-phased approach that we've got in order to transition us from really that 1903 style first generation district energy solution to a 5th generation modern district energy solution that a lot of what you actually see in Europe already. They're already in the 5th generation. We're a little bit, we started out and got in early in 1903 and then just kind of stuck there. So we're trying to bring us into the modern generation. So we kind of have a 3-phased approach here. And really what you're looking at is initially we had to come in and improve the system to drive our costs down and grow our customer base, because being a community system without a large customer base, we can't justify investment into future generation and move forward. So that's kind of what this slide is summarizing. So from 2019 to 2021, we put roughly $30 million into our distribution system as well as our generating facilities. Obviously, shutting down the waste energy facility had an impact on our new primary generating facility. So for efficiency and reliability concerns, we invested money into that. The distribution system is a no-brainer, I think. When you're making clouds out in the streets with those pretty orange stacks that I'm sure everyone on this call has seen, it's pretty obvious that you're burning natural gas just to make clouds, and that isn't good for the environment or good for anyone in general. So that impact in turn had a 50% reduction in our line losses. So huge changes and really drove down that cost to generate, big change. And in turn, you can see down a little bit lower, we got rid of 150 buried leaks, eliminated 24% of the manholes, and really removed some underutilized spur lines of the system. More recently, we've gone from a centralized system where all of our steam came from the Beacon facility and started going into a distributed generation system where we are utilizing those satellite facilities as local generation sources. So when you don't have to send steam as far, it's more efficient. So from a high level. And now we're working into the automation of those facilities. They are unmanned, and we're getting them to where generators kick off and on and work in a more efficient fashion, and in turn emitting less to the atmosphere. So those actions had a 48% reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions. We significantly reduced our gas, water, and electric and chemical usage. And a third thing that we've done recently is we joined DTE's My Green Power. I'm sure a lot of people on this call are familiar with it, but those that aren't, it is one of the largest voluntary renewable programs in the country. I mean, you've got like Bedrock, the Detroit Zoo, Ford Motor Company, General Motors, University of Michigan, Detroit Thermal, a whole lot of people contributing to this voluntary program. So effectively what that is equating to is nearly 2 megawatts of renewable energy that's generated in Michigan and used in Michigan, which is equivalent to over 270,000 passenger vehicles being removed from the road in a year. So it's a big improvement. So what comes next? We're going to continue to improve the efficiency of each of our generating facilities as well as the distribution system. So that's unfortunately something that never stops. But one of the big next steps is to evaluate and deploy condensate return systems. So I kind of mentioned the 5th generation technology. They distribute hot water as opposed to steam, but a lot of the buildings in the city of Detroit are steam throughout the building. And you can imagine the cost prohibitive nature of converting something like the Fisher Building or Cadillac Place or the Penobscot Building entirely over to hot water. It would be outrageous. So we're looking at ways that we can improve the system without outrageous capital costs by the end user. So we're also purchasing and operating customer steam generation and chilling assets. We are working through a new hot water technology. We're using a technology that MaxiTherm has produced. It's actually in place already at the book building, Bedrock's book building. There's one in place at the Hudson building as well, but it isn't online yet, but outrageously efficient. And it sets their building up for the future to receive district energy hot water as their hot water through the building already. So it's a good opportunity there. And the next point here is the Willis plant for renovations for Midtown customers. So that Willis plant, that 1903 plant, has almost just sat there as an abandoned asset for a really long time. And we're starting to get our toes in the water with doing something remarkable with that facility. So we're also working to purchase renewable natural gas for both our boilers here at Beacon as well as our generators at the satellite facilities, and working on developing relationships with other energy partners for unique greener approaches to district energy. So continuing into the future, so we're going to continue solidifying those partnerships with these infrastructure partners. Kind of what that means is when you're talking about bringing green hydrogen or renewable natural gas into Detroit, the infrastructure company really needs an anchor business. And being that Detroit Thermal uses a lot of natural gas, would be a key asset to have to justify that infrastructure investment. And what we're looking for is more anchor customers that we can bring onto contract that are interested in being a part of this green energy solution. So that's kind of what they're leading into there with the Willis facility as well. We are going to have boots on the ground at the Willis facility in the next couple months to start pursuing those options there. And everyone here is pretty excited about that. It talks about taking the old boilers here at Beacon out of service. We do have some 1920s riveted boilers that we are looking to take out of service, that solely from improvements and efficiencies and line losses that we've almost made them to where they're not even needed anymore. So we're getting really close. The last piece to this is really where we are now. So the history of Detroit Thermal, it has really been owned by private equity groups for a while. So effectively 3 to 5 year companies coming in, holding and flipping, and not really interested in what the picture of Detroit looked like for the long term and future. So LeBon Infrastructure Partners is a company based out of Paris, and they own primarily district energy companies. A lot of them, those 5th generation, modern, efficient, green district energy companies. So they came in, saw a huge opportunity to make their mark on the United States, and this is their first asset in the United States. So they came in, they set aside $200 million for the investment in the city of Detroit, solely to convert us over to where they see us needing to be as far as green, efficient, and all the bells and whistles. So they're very focused on ESG. So they're also counting on Detroit Thermal's leadership to continue working with these energy partners and looking to augment projects with carbon reduction government funds and grants. So it's really an exciting time to be a part of the district energy company in Detroit and seeing the future starting to unfold. And if anybody's got any questions, I know I kind of crashed through a lot there, but it's kind of semi complicated.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Jeff? I don't see any in the chat, but feel free to raise your hand and come off mute. I know I had a question, maybe if anybody else, and we'll have time at the end if anybody has any questions that they think of, but I guess I was wondering, I don't remember the name of the technology that you said, but you mentioned that you're working with Bedrock, and I was curious if Detroit Thermal has done any building specific or project specific case studies, because I think that might be another nice presentation or something to share with Detroit 2030 district building members down the road. So that was just one question I had.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. So the Hudson building and the book building are really relatively new with that new technology. So I don't think we have enough data to put a good projection of what that building looks like yet. But in the next couple heating seasons, I think that will be something that will be really interesting to present.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, this was a really great presentation. I've appreciated the updates that Detroit Thermal has provided the past 6 months at some of our events, and all of the support that Detroit Thermal gives to the Detroit 2030 district. So thank you for being here, Jeff. And yeah, I
Absolutely.
guess if you also don't mind putting your email in the chat, just in case anyone wants to reach out with questions, we'd appreciate that. And yeah, if anyone has any questions for Jeff, you can put them in the chat. We'll get them to them at the end. And
I just
with
have
that,
a quick
oh yeah,
question.
go ahead, Connie.
So we've talked about this before. How many people can you take down through those tunnels at one time? We'd like to set up some tours.
Connie wants to tour.
A lot. A lot.
Okay. Maybe we'll see who wants to come. I think it would be interesting to see that.
Yeah, actually, there's a section of the tunnels that, I mean, you could probably have a concert in it. Like it's,
Oh, wow.
it's large.
Okay, that's our meeting space then, right? We'll have a meeting and then we'll.
And all of the upper management gets kind of frustrated because pretty much any time our CEO presents, he volunteers tours of the tunnels, and you can imagine it's a confined space with I mean you're wearing fall protection and stuff, so it's not really simple evolution, but I mean if you wanted to come, you're more than welcome to come. We'll take you into the tunnels.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, well, we are going to move on to our next and final presenter, Don. And Don, while you're sharing your slides, I'm going to read a description of what you're going to be presenting on today. But Don Bryan is with IceCold Technology and Certified Efficiency Products. Certified Efficiency Products LLC is a full service energy efficiency and facility solution company specializing in researching and vetting solutions for the commercial and industrial markets. Providing cost-effective solutions that work to our clients is our highest priority. We offer a single point of contact to navigate multiple segments of operations, so the client is not burdened with additional workloads and can feel confident that they are receiving the best products and services available. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Don.
Thank you, Kendall. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody's time today and being here. I want to, it's been a while since I had the opportunity to be in front of the group. And before, I think we talked about our product that we manufacture, IceCold Technology. But today I want to bring you some new products that we work with to provide solutions. Some of the solutions that we provide, we actually own and manufacture ourselves. Some of them we're distributors of for the manufacturers, and then there's other services we provide where we use third-party partners from the relationships that we've built over the years. But as Kendall was saying, we are a complete facility solutions company. And what we do initially is we get to know our clients by sitting down with them, talking about their facilities, finding out what their goals are, finding out what their short-term and long-term goals are, finding out what their challenges are as far as their facilities are concerned. And then through a series of different levels of audits that can be done, whether it's a level 1, 2, or 3 ASHRAE audit, depending on the size of the facility and how much they really want to do, we come up with a plan to help them achieve those goals. And we're able to identify different types of solutions that can be implemented to make you lower your operational costs, lower your energy consumption, lower your carbon emissions, whatever the goals are that we're trying to achieve, and put all that together. And there's several different segments that we can identify, whether it's water saving technologies, refrigeration optimization, chiller optimization, fuel treatments, indoor air quality. We have solutions for just about every type of segment that's out there that we can address those. But what I wanted to show you today was some of our more simple types of technologies that we have that are very easy to implement. They're very non-disruptive, so you don't have to worry about shutting down your business or shutting down operations. They can be very cost effective. And again, the key is to implement technologies that are simple solutions that are going to be extremely cost effective, get a really quick return on investment, but are going to get you closer to those goals in reducing your energy efficiency or increasing your energy efficiency and lowering your energy consumption. So one of the technologies I wanted to show you today, I don't know if you can still see me on the screen, but this is what's called an EndoCube. And this product we're installing in walk-in freezers in every type of facility, from quick serve restaurants, convenience stores, full service hotels, resorts, anybody that has a walk-in cooler or freezer. And how this works is it's very simple. It's got a microcrystalline wax inside of this case, and you take the temperature probe that's inside of your walk-in cooler and you insert that into this microcrystalline wax. And rather than it measuring the air temperature of the cooler, so every time somebody opens the cooler door, the thermostat says it's going up, the compressor kicks on, it actually measures the temperature of the product that's being stored inside of the walk-in cooler or freezer. So you get compressors that are now running according to the way the product being stored is, and rather than the air temperature. And it's been tested all over the world. We're installing thousands of these in convenience stores right now, and you can get anywhere from a 15 to 50% savings on the compressor from the compressor run times that you were getting previously without using one of these. So it's a very cost-effective solution, very easy and non-disruptive to implement, and we're getting great results on that. So that's one product I wanted to introduce you to. The other product, this is one that we've discussed before on previous Lunch and Learns, but this is a product that we manufacture, IceCold technology. And this is a product that is installed in any type of air conditioning or refrigeration system. We do everything from automobile air conditionings all the way up to 2,000-ton centrifugal chillers and everything in between. And this product works to eliminate what ASHRAE calls oil fouling, which decreases the system's efficiency over time because of compressor oil that's migrating out into your refrigeration coils where your heat exchange is taking place. So IceCold is a product that goes in and eliminates that oil fouling. And you can see energy efficiency increases anywhere from 10 to 25%. And we're installing this product in grocery stores, hospitals, anybody that is a big consumer of energy from your HVAC or refrigeration. IceCold is a great product that's been around for more than 20 years and is also very cost effective and non-disruptive. We have an E-Core program that this works to optimize chillers, and it works with any type of BMS system that you have in place. It works in conjunction with it, and it helps to optimize chillers. This is a third-party company that we use to implement this technology, and they actually will do the assessment and then guarantee the savings that you're going to get before installing it. So it's a very, very effective technology for optimizing chiller plants. I wanted to show you this water saving technology. This is very interesting, and this is another product that's being installed in all different types of facilities. And it's called a smart valve. And it's very unique in the way that it works, because what most people don't know, that your water meter actually has a lot of air that's passing through there. And that air that's passing through the meter is getting charged to you as water. So you're actually getting charged for something that you're not using. So what the smart valve does, it has two basic functions, and it's installed just on the inside of the meter, on the user side of the meter. And what it does is it creates a back pressure onto the meter itself, so that the only thing passing through the meter is water. So you're not going to get charged for any air volume that's actually passing through the meter. The other function that it has, which is very unique, is that you can set it. It has a manufacturer's dial that sets the actual pressure that you're getting to the building. So, say a building requires 60 psi, but you're getting much more than that. Well, every time you turn the faucet on, you're actually wasting water that you don't really need, because you don't need that increased water pressure. So this has a dial that you can set to control the amount of pressure that's going through the faucets and sinks and toilets and those sorts of things that are actually using the water. So this unit itself, we see anywhere from 10 to 35% reduction in water consumption. So very effective when it comes to residential, multi-residential buildings. Anybody that's using large amounts of water, we're installing these in some of the resorts in the Caribbean that have 10 and 12-inch supply lines, and they're having great results. So another very simple, easy to install technology that has great results and great return on investment. We also have a company called Airbox that for any type of air purification systems and indoor air quality products, they have one of the best and most tested products out there for air purification. They have the certified HEPA filter, the antimicrobial treated filters, the activated carbon filter, all in one unit. And then they have a smart fleet management platform that can track the performance and the life cycle left within each one of these filter units. Now they can be set up as standalone units in a room by itself, or they can be introduced into the duct system from the beginning of the design of a building or even afterwards, so that you can have this installed from construction point. But the unique thing is the smart fleet management platform that it has, because obviously there's a life cycle to the filters. They have the ability to monitor the operation of these filters and the ability to turn them off. So if you have an unoccupied room, say in a convention center or a hotel or something like that, where it's not going to be occupied for a few days, you don't have to have these filters working when there's nothing going on in the room. So it saves you on the life cycle of the filters, increases the life, and also reduces the energy consumption, because if it's not running when the room's not occupied, obviously you're not going to be consuming energy. That in a nutshell was basically some of the new things that we have that I wanted to show you as far as actual technologies that can be implemented. We again can do cogeneration, power generation, renewable energy. We have partners that we bring in to facilitate all of that, but our goal is to work with our clients, find out what their goals are, put together a whole program, and then have one point of contact for that customer, so that they're not having to go to several different facilitators of these technologies. We can bring it all together in one package. And then we have all types of cost savings programs that we have zero out-of-pocket programs, and things that we can do for funding, so that you can literally get a lot of these programs implemented without having any CapEx up front. That in a nutshell is what we do. We also provide a lot of sponsorships for different programs, and we do this in the name of our clients. So generally what we do, based on some of the revenue that we make, we will take and make a donation to a charity of the client's choice in their name. And we've donated to scholarship programs, education foundations, autism awareness, Make-A-Wish. There's many different programs that we do, and we always do that in the name of our client, just to show that we're giving back and appreciative. So that was what I wanted to show today. Does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Don. Yeah, if anybody has questions, feel free to raise your hand, come off mute.
I know it was a lot of information real quick, but I think we're able to make the presentation available to everybody. So if anybody wants to see that and go back through some of the other things that we can do, and if you have questions in the future, always can be contacted.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Yeah, and if you don't mind also putting your email address in the chat,
Sure.
that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from anyone for our presenters today? Feel free to show your face if you'd like. Come off mute, say hello. All right, well, I just
All
wanted
right.
to say thank you again to all of our speakers today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to present and put together these slides for our building members, and we'll get this posted on the YouTube channel so it can be shared and accessed there by anyone who would like to view it in the future. So really appreciate this. I hope everybody has a nice holiday next week.